So we're at the bike show in Portland, Oregon today, and we're gonna look at the coolest booths or the ones you guys are interested in. I'm the Otter, so let's get started. So this is a local Oregon business. I've actually used them to press my steer tubes in. The only place in the United States I could find to actually do that work. So he's gonna introduce us to what they do.
How's it going? I'm Matt. I'm here with risseracing here in Portland at the Made Bike Show. Risseracing, we do kind of all things suspension is what we do. Service is our bread and butter. We service for just about every manufacturer out there. We're really known for servicing some of the older stuff that manufacturers may not take care of anymore. So things like brain shocks off of Specialized, DRCVs off of Trex, all the old Talus forks that there are a zillion of them out there. We still take care of those, do our best to keep things rolling. We also manufacture. We manufacture in the USA. We're out of Redmond, Oregon. We get sent stuff from all over the country and even internationally. So we're trying to be there for all your suspension needs. As Otter mentioned, we also do stuff like pressing in steer tubes for when you're trying to swap one fork to another. Try and keep a fork running for as long as possible. So we try and be there for whatever we can. So these are some of our, I guess what you might call legacy products. These are products that we do still make here in Oregon. These are products we make for a lot of niche purposes at this point. We made these originally for a lot of some of the older bikes, a lot of these starting in the 90s through the 2000s. We do still make all of these products, especially for folks who have an older bike that has a mounting standard that may not exist anymore. So for instance, like here in the booth today, we've got a Santa Cruz Tasman, a Yeti ARC Softail. Those are bikes that are very cool bikes, very special, that nothing new from any of the big brands are ever going to fit. We still service all the shocks for those bikes, and we still manufacture stuff for them. So those are products that, for folks who are looking to keep something old running or maybe are proud of having made in the USA stuff, these are products that we still offer for those customers. Are we about to be controversial?
So what do you guys think about bladders?
I can speak more from a service technician side that the bladders are more challenging to work on. From the performance side, I think you've got a strong argument there that there is an advantage there. As somebody who spends more time tearing them apart than I do riding them, I find them frustrating because they have shortcomings in terms of their service. I can't speak to whether how much of that is manufacturing shortcomings versus actual shortcomings of the design. But as a service technician, there are downsides.
Well, I just boil it down to, rubber is more for birth control than for bladders and shocks, but that's a personal opinion. There's definitely less friction with the bladder, and it is very important and critical the way that it's bled and it's vacuum bled for it to work correctly so that you have the right nitrogen charge and the right volume of oil. So, I don't know, both right or both wrong. I say Otter's going to say we're both wrong. All right, back to you, Bob.
Okay, so I realized that bladders are less reliable because my bladder shocks usually don't last quite as long as the internal floating pistons. So that's totally its performance versus reliability, I think.
And it's all, what are you looking for? If you're looking for the ultimate in performance and are willing to take that hit in longevity, which, for folks who are, looking for that cutting edge, that, perfect suspension and are willing to service it as often as it should be, which many riders just want to ride something until it starts making a horrible clunking noise, 10 years down the road. And for those folks, it may be, not what they're looking for because it does need a little bit more attention to, run smooth.
The back.
All right, so this is a Lassen bike. This is a kind of a custom bike that I just have fun machining, making. It's all CNC machined. In the center here is kind of the spine of the bike. It has a lot of adjustability where you can change the seat post angles, shock positions, the location here. It's all bolts together. There's no welding. These are glued and threaded together. All CNC machined on this head tube part here. So it starts as a big chunk of aluminum, lots of chips. And then we have the Trixie fork here. This is a 4-inch version of ours. It's 26-inch wheel, but it's got plenty of spacing for wider tires. And we have different lengths that we've made over the years. Then in the back here, we have the internal roll-off hub. So it's a 14-speed. But once again, the whole concept of this is that it's all kind of bolted together and adjustable. So you can change the position of the seat stay, which changes your geometry, the chain stay length, different wheel size. You can change the size by switching out chain stays or seat stays. And then once again, you can try different air shocks, coil spring shocks, different leverage ratios, make it progressive or more linear travel. And I think one of the new versions we'll do, we're going to use a pinion mid-drive gearbox, and we'll remove a lot of the weight and the sprung mass on the rear to have an internal gearbox here. So always kind of playing around, making lots of chips. That's what we do at Rissi Racing. All right, so this is another kind of crazy bike we build. This one's called the Boltonator. So this has lots of welding on it, but it's all kind of CNC machined billet with batteries in here, big box. You don't have to worry as much about weight on a bike that's got a big battery in it. It has an internal or a rear hub motor. And on this one, kind of one thing that's unique, you'll see that it kicks in power. If you back pedal, it'll do regen braking. So if you're going down a long downhill road, you can just back pedal and it'll charge your battery. You don't have to use the brakes as much. And here we're going to have like a little Raspberry Pi display. So maybe you have a little hotspot on your bike if you want to, or GPS, whatever. And then once again, we've got a Metron fork. This one's a heavier duty one. So it's made more for the e-motos and stuff where you have a lot more power and like a Sur-On or a Telluride. So this is a 120 spacing, 20 millimeter axle. And so you got a lot of room for big fat tires and strong burly wheels and stuff. And then you just plug it in, charge it up. You got your USB ports and a cigarette lighter here. So, no reason not to ride.
Yeah. So we're at Reserve Wheels, and Chase is going to explain to us what's the benefit of spending a lot of money on a set of wheels.
Hey, my name's Chase. I work here at Reserve Wheels, and I just wanted to share my personal experience before I started to work for Reserve. I was living in my van, traveling around the country, mountain biking every day, and I blew up a wheel on a road trip out in Crested Butte. And the first thing I thought was like, man, my trip is ruined. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't have money, I'm living in my van. So then I met a friend that worked at a shop, and he had an extra set of Reserve wheels to send me. So we shipped them out to Crested Butte next day. I got on them, and right away I knew why there was such a rage with these wheels. So first thing I noticed was just the stiffness you get. However, you also get compliance as well. We designed them to have lateral compliance. So when you're pushing in a corner, you get the momentum out of it. And then when you're plowing through rock gardens, you don't get all the chatter that you get with other carbon wheels. But the main reason I got them, being a broke van person, being very price conscious, was the lifetime warranty that came with them. So when I blew up my aluminum wheel in Crested Butte, I knew that was just money wasted out my pocket. And then when I got these wheels, I got to ride them for the season, had to ship them back to my friend, but right after I bought a set for myself, and it's a set that I still have today. So yes, maybe you have the hesitation that the price tag is a bit high, but there's a cost conversation and there's a price conversation. When you're talking about cost, you don't necessarily think about the opportunity cost associated with blowing up a wheel. When you talk about price, you also don't think about that. So be sure to keep in mind that when you're buying something and it's a big investment, that it's something that could potentially last you more than just one season. And that's what we're built on, is the lifetime warranty with our wheels and the lifetime support that you get when you buy a Reserve wheel.
This is actually a little bit of a collaborative project that we're working on. Chris at risseracing has been doing his suspension design for a while, selling it as the kit that is on this bike. And so with Stinner, you know, we kind of launched our contract manufacturing this year, launched it, made it public. And Chris is one of the folks we're working with to try to bring his product to a higher volume, lower price point, something that's a little more accessible for everyone. And at the same time, we're interested in using it for Stinner brand stuff. And so this is kind of the first Tesla that we've built with it. Very much still, you know, first gen prototype for the show, but made for our very, very tall Aaron. So pretty big bike, but in the current guise, pretty much an enduro bike, 170, 160, 29 all around. Like it's very much built for the kind of riding that Santa Barbara has, which is just straight up, straight down.
Okay, we're at Right Hook Finishes, and I'm a huge fan of the color black. So these guys can fix any fork or any bike's color. Located in Portland, Oregon.
Hey, this is Dylan. We are Right Hook Finishes. That's Cody.
Hi,
We're gonna do it again. Hey, I'm Dylan.
I'm Cody.
This is Right Hook Finishes. We do custom paint for bikes, helmets, shoes, tires, everything.
Anything we can.
Yeah, we do stuff like take basic black bikes and make them pop, because why would you ride a bike you don't absolutely love?
All right, guys, we're at mulletcycles, and we got
Miles.
He's gonna talk to us why the shock's more important than the frame from a lot of experience.
Hell yeah. So, obviously what we're looking at is a single pivot. I believe a single pivot is the best suspension design because we have shocks that have come such a long way and are pretty much spectacular. You have high-low speed compression, high-low speed rebound, different types of springs. You can change the oil. And I think that instead of focusing on complex linkages, I think it's better to focus on how great shocks have become. It's less friction, less maintenance, and we're literally riding on the shock. And that's what we're relying on. We use needle bearings inside our single pivot. This way you'll never need to replace your bearings. The whole industry uses radial bearings, which are basically skateboard bearings, aren't designed for lateral flex. Lateral flex in that rear wheel, it's going around turns, coming off jumps sideways, is putting a lot of load on your ball bearings, which they're not designed for. So with needle bearings, we take that out. Dirt bikes use needle bearings, forklifts, transmissions. Every bike should be using needle bearings. However, this is the only bike using needle bearings. It's kind of funny. We have our pivot in the correct spot. This is directly above our bottom bracket. It gives minimal pedal kickback. Pedal kickback is when your pedals are going backwards when your shock is being decompressed. If it is such a complete issue and you're like, well, I should have a extra pulley wheel above the chain, then just run an O-chain. Less stuff to break on your bike. Less maintenance again. We use solid CNC dropouts on the rear of the bike. That again helps for lateral rigidity. Elevated chainstay. This way you can run a 3.0 tire and up to a 38 tooth chain ring. We only do aluminum full suspensions. Carbon fiber, I think, sucks. It's plastic. Though it's less expensive to manufacture because you can mass produce, they tend to fail, especially when you crash or on hard impacts. Aluminum offers a little bit of compliance. Titanium and steel, I don't believe, are the optimal materials for a full suspension bike, and that's because the material gives and it flexes. That's what we're getting out of our shock, is flex. Steel can corrode, it's very heavy. The strength to weight ratio of aluminum is far greater than steel. We used to have soft tail titanium bikes because titanium flexes so much that you don't even need pivots. All you need is an elastomer and the chainstays will flex that much. So we do our titanium hardtail bikes because of the suppleness. Might be coming out with a soft tail, but we won't do a full suspension in titanium. Marketing's a hell of a drug, and it would be easier to market a steel bike or a full suspension or a full suspension titanium bike because it seems that's what the kids want. But as far as from a performance and manufacturing standpoint, it's not optimal. Steel has a very low tolerance, so just getting it perfect can be difficult. Aluminum has a great tolerance. Want to talk about how crazy the bike industry is? We've been using Presta valves for decades now on mountain bikes. Why is that? It makes no sense. We should all be on Schrader valves. Nobody was offering wheels that came with Schrader valves, so I went ahead and made my own. Doing so, I had to make my own Schrader valves. Because I run inserts, I had to make them with side slots. This way the air would be able to get around the insert, basically. I mean, dirt bikes, airplanes, cars, semi-trucks, lawnmowers, they're all on Schrader valves. Imagine if they're all using Presta valves. You'd see everybody on the side of the road. These are more difficult to clog. They're way stronger. They won't snap off like in a rock garden with loose rocks, or if you're a little too abrasive with your pump. They're easier to fill. You can seal a tire with a floor pump. We're only filling our tires up to 30 psi, which is optimum for a Schrader valve. And then you can run like really cool valve stem caps as well. It makes no sense that all these bikes are Presta valves, but here's the thing. Until a big company does it, it won't catch on.
So most of my audience is like DIY kind of guys, shock rebuilders. So we're gonna check out Velo tools.
My name is Brett Fleming, and I'm the founder and chief inventor of EfficientVelo Tools Incorporated. We're now based in Washougal, Washington, at the gateway to the Columbia River Gorge. Got a small factory there and a small team that helps us hand build these tools to support mostly bike mechanics and shops, but also people that really appreciate good tools. The first invention that I came up with was a bicycle repair clamp that's primarily for clamping seat posts only. And I like to say that the company was founded on one principle: respect. Because in 1999, when I came to work at the Bike Gallery stores in Portland, Oregon as the general service manager, I was responsible for 6 service departments and over 30 mechanics. And I was watching mechanics try to not damage frames and decals and stuff like that by grabbing bikes by the seat posts. So the traditional clamps that were available were 4 inches tall. There was oftentimes not enough seat post available to clamp the bike appropriately. So they were loosening saddles and raising saddles in order to facilitate clamping that was also not balanced. And I really think that it's wrong to service any vehicle by grasping the painted, finished surface.
I work for VPL, and VPL has lots of different OEs. One of our OEs is swiftbicycles. Swiftbicycles makes a lot of titanium stuff. They're pretty good shops with additive this particular bike, we make a bunch of different concept bikes for shows. Swift has made a triple tandem called the Schlong. They've made a cargo bike called the Schart, or sorry, the Schnelle Schnecke. This is our concept bike here. We called it the Schart, and it has a ton of additive on it. So the entire horizontal section of the bike is printed. You'll notice when you zoom in, you'll see that there's some sections that have all been stitched together. So these are TIG as you go. In a production environment, you wouldn't 3D print the entire horizontal frame, but for a concept bike, it worked really well. So everything in here is printed. These drops are hollow. There's no cross section. There's no like webbing inside that print. As you go across, all of the little bits here are all printed. So the upper frame, the upper triangle, if you want to call it that, can be unbolted right here. So the entire drivetrain can come out. That's the Bosch motor. That's the Gates belt drive. That's the battery system. That's the ecosystem of Bosch. So that's all removable from the top. The horizontal section, if you remove the wheels, fits in a standard 6-inch deep case by, I think it's 38, and just an inch larger than the fork, if you want to call it. So the other thing on the front of this bike is it's got hub steer, so it doesn't use a traditional fork. It's got a horizontal support for that hub steer. That's pretty awesome for an urban sprint rig like this, or a long john cargo with a lot of cargo on the front, or a long tail cargo. So for this concept bike, you could potentially roll the whole drivetrain up and put a completely different horizontal frame underneath it to accommodate a completely different vehicle.
So it's downhill shock, 225 trunnion.
Yep, 225, 75 stroke. So the rear end travels actually like 183 millimeters. And the fork is set up 190. And it's a 62.5 degree head angle and 5'10" reach. I'm 6'4", so I just make everything proportionate to
What
me.
about chain stays? Chain stays.
Chain stays are 445.
That's pretty long. I like it.
Pretty long. I've been doing a lot of work with frameworks lately, and I've been riding 460. So I'm getting ready to build a third version of this bike, and I'll do a steeper seat tube angle and go 460 chain stays, but probably keep everything else pretty much the same.
What's up? I'm Jumpin' Jerry Vanderpool with TRP, and this is the Evo 12 drivetrain. Of course, we've got 12 speed here, our own cassette. This is an 1152 range. This is our derailleur, a little different than some of our competitors in the effect that this, which a lot of people think is our lock, is our clutch, is actually our hall lock. This lever locks the B-bolt so the derailleur does not shift backwards. That way the clutch can do its job without the derailleur pushing backwards, which allows the jockey wheel to follow the contour of the cassette much more accurately. So a really nice feature. As well, we have a cage release feature that releases the cage from the derailleur. So when you want to pull the rear wheel out, all you do is go down to these two knobs right here, pull this little lever out, this goes down, you pull the pin out, and now the cage is completely disconnected from the clutch mechanism. So it's really nice because in some systems, they have a little pin right here, and if you touch it, it's spring-loaded and it whaps back and takes your hand off. So we made this one a lot easier where you can just pull this up, pull it down, and you're ready to ride.
So 2 harsh questions. So these calipers aren't as big as the Mavens.
No. Our caliper in this generation is not as big as the Maven. However, we're getting more brake power by doing it a different way. We have a strong caliper, but if you overheat the rotor, it doesn't do you any good. So we actually have a 0.5 millimeter thicker rotor than most of our competitors, which allows us a lot more heat dissipation and no fade.